Hi, I'm Barb Switzer. Thanks for coming to visit us at Beaducation.com. Today's class project is the Edison drop earring. This is a really fun earring to make using some heavy and some light gauge wire. It's great practice for making a large, consistent curve, and you're going to learn how to embellish a heavy gauge wire with some lighter wire and crystals. The materials for the Edison drop: 18 gauge wire, 26 gauge wire, 3mm crystals, bicones, 4mm bicone crystals, daisy spacers, head pins, a pair of ear wires, and some heavy jump rings. The tools for today's project: round nose pliers, flat or chain nose pliers, flush cutters, a small and a large dowel. So first you'll cut a 48mm piece of 18 gauge wire. If you want to antique your wire, you can go ahead and get some liver of sulfur and gloves and follow the directions carefully. For those of you who like your silver shiny, just go ahead and leave it the way it came in your kit. You'll notice that I've marked my wire with the Sharpie at 24mm, which is the center of the piece of wire. That's for a point of reference so that when I start bending it around this dowel, I know where I want to keep the wire centered. So go ahead and bend it around the dowel, shaping it into a U with straight sides. The next thing that you will do is turn a loop on each end of the U using your round nose pliers. You want to work about halfway up the plier at least so that the interior size of the loop is 2 to 3 millimeters. Turn one loop, flip the piece over, turn another loop, and just try and match where you're working on the plier. You can always mark the plier with the Sharpie if you find that helpful. You actually need to reshape slightly after you turn the loops normally, so just put the dowel back in the center and do a little pushing and refining of the overall shape of your piece. The next step you're going to do is primarily prep work. You're going to close 4 jump rings, open one, and then wire wrap the dangles as they're specified in the handout. Once you've done the prep work, open up the loop and then slide on your small, medium, and your other small dangle, and 2 closed jump rings. Once you have all those elements on, you want to close that loop back up with the jump rings in the loop. Next, open the loop on the opposite side and insert the other 2 closed jump rings. And again, close the loop. So I've slid my ear wire onto my open jump ring, and then I'm going to take the ring and run it through the inside ring on one side of the drop, string on my center drop, and then run it through the corresponding jump ring on the opposite side. Then I'm going to close the ring. Using your large dowel and your 60mm piece of wire, you're going to go ahead and wrap this wire around the dowel turning it into a loop. Just like on the other piece, the next thing that you're going to do is turn a loop on each end. Okay. Again, make sure you don't make the loops so small that you can't put several elements into them. Because turning those loops opens up that arc a little bit, you want to put it back on the dowel and push the ends together to reshape the piece a little bit better. The next thing we're going to do is wrap the 3mm bicones onto this arc that we've shaped. Using 26 gauge wire, I'm going to wrap a few times right next to my loop around this arc, up and away from myself. Always leave yourself enough of a tail to hang on to while you do this. Once you've anchored it on, push back up through the loop and wrap a few times in the loop itself. Again, just leave a little bit of tail to hang on to while you're working on this. Next, we're going to start stringing the crystals on. So put on one bicone, support from behind with your finger and hang on to the tail of the wire. Wrap around and pull snugly onto the arc. Then you're going to wrap 3 full times around and string on your next crystal. Notice that I'm wrapping in between each crystal 3 times fully around the arc. Again, supporting the bead from behind always with my finger. I'm going to go ahead and wrap the second crystal on. Wrap 3 times and then string on my next bead. As long as you always support the bead from behind as you snug this wire up, you'll manage to keep the crystal sitting along the side of the arc. You will also notice that on the back side, you see a little bit of exposed wire. That's exactly how it's supposed to look. There's just a different look to one side than there is to the other. Continue wrapping all the way around until you have on usually about 11 or 12 crystals. Then go ahead and wrap up into the loop a couple of times so that it matches the first side. Pull it snug with your pliers and then flush trim both of your ends. If you have an end sticking up at all, just go ahead and tuck it down using your chain nose pliers. Open up both of the loops on this large arc. Hold the top section by the ear wire so that it's kind of hanging, so your jump rings hang down freely. And hook them through the bottom loops and then close the loops. And your earring is done. Thanks for coming today to the Edison Drop Earring on Beaducation.com. Keep checking back to the site for more classes, and I hope you enjoy your earrings. Have fun wearing them.